Ah, nature, beauty, mystery, and above all, something that makes our planet just an amazing piece of art in our universe. Unlike art, it is the only piece of life where money isn't needed. Or is that not the case? With the way humanity is growing, beautiful sights of forests, jungles, oceans, and even the greatest and powerful mountains are being destroyed just to make way for a tiny creature. Even the wildlife themselves are being pushed or killed just for humanity's sake. So maybe the power of money is needed when we think of nature. Greetings! I am the Storyteller. Tonight I bring to you a tale from my collection of stories. So sit back and relax. Allow yourself to get enveloped by my words and envision the world that comes off from my pages. I love nature. I can't get enough of it. I think it was all thanks to growing up nearby and having my father take me along whenever he went out. He would show me the ways of gathering, foraging, and hunting. He always made it a point in our trips to ensure we respected the land we walked on, to only kill when necessary, and use only enough that is needed. Never allow greed to consume you. Those rules he would always tell me each time we walked in the woods. Then one day, I remember how my father and I came across two dreadful creatures. Creatures that did not follow the rules. Creatures that allowed their greed to consume them. It had been an early summer morning. As I ran through the thicket of leaves and branches, my ears caught wind of a sound. The sound, as I could gather, tried to mimic the sound of thunder, but much more condensed. It sounded unnatural. That is when my father ran to my side, nestling us behind some trees. Out from a nearby bush, I witnessed one of the animals of the woods limp out into a clearing. Oh, its antlers were magnificent. I wonder how many years it took to grow that crown. Yet I didn't have much time as I wished to stare in awe of the animal, for it began to cry out for help. Just remembering that moment brings tears to my eyes. When it turned its left side to face us, I saw a small circle wound near its chest. It looked like it had been struck by a pebble, but no pebble I knew could cause such a wound. Then that is when that sound mimicking thunder came again. I watched the animal jerk forward as something hit it. It bucked once before falling to the ground, crying out. I began to rush out to hurt the poor animal, but was stopped by my father. He held a finger over his mouth. I sat there quiet as I could. Right before my eyes, I watched two tall creatures emerge from the same bushes the animal had emerged from earlier. They leaned over its dying body. One of the tall creatures bent down, grasping the animal's crowned horns, shaking them in a display of amusement to the other tall creature. Suddenly, the animal cried again, shaking its head back and forth. The tall creature jumped away, screaming loudly. That is when the second tall creature took the long stick that had been on its back and repeatedly struck the animal's head until it stopped moving, until its cries were silenced. What his death confirmed, both creatures started to celebrate. My father covered my mouth, not wanting the creatures to hear my cries. My tears ran down his thick hands. My father stroked the top of my head in a way to calm me like mother would during a thunderstorm. The two creatures began to pose in strange ways with the animal, all while their faces continued to show their joy with their kill. I heard one of the creatures speak to the other. One of them left only to return on a strange object that carried more of the same dead animal. There had to be 4 other dead animals. The two tall creatures laughed and smiled at their haul. Why? Why would they do such a thing? Yes, my father and I killed the same animal, but unlike these two creatures, we only killed because we needed the meat, we needed the fur, we needed the bones and antlers. Yet these two creatures seemed to only kill because it brought them joy. Why would death bring anything joy? I always cried when we had to kill one of those animals for its meat. So why did these two tall, strange creatures celebrate? Why didn't they follow the rules like father and I do? Suddenly I felt my father's hand leave my face. I looked over at him only to shudder at a horrible evil scowl that he held. With a quickness, my father grabbed a nearby rock and tossed it with such a ferociousness at the two creatures. They jumped in shock. My father continued to throw more and more rocks. He nudged me with his elbow to follow his lead. I grasped what rocks I could, flickering them at the creatures. They looked around, frantically curious where the rocks came from, but my father was smart. He knew to stay hidden. The two creatures held up their sticks, slowly moving them in a circular position. Then my father let out a horrible sound I never heard from him. The two creatures backed in fear, jumping on their object. They fled just like they appeared. My father and I emerged from the trees. I knelt down to the animal that they had left. my tears falling down upon its body. My father stared in the direction the two creatures ran, with that evil scowl still on his face. That scowl vanished upon hearing my whimpers. He knelt down, placing his hand on my shoulder. "I know," he said. "It is a sad thing to see indeed, how those things can just kill and kill. Yet do not blame them, for that is their kind's nature." "But why, father?" I cried. "Why could they do such cruel things? There are even times I don't like to kill the animals. I prefer to watch or play with them. They are kind and gentle creatures." My father nodded his head. "I know, son. Even I love them. I love all the animals here. That is why we only take what is needed for us to eat. We never do what those dreadful creatures do. They just hunt for sport." Tears continued to fall from my eyes. "But why, father? Why are they so evil? Aren't they like us?" "Yes, my son. But they even fear us. Unlike us, who would scare their kind off without a fight, their kind would do whatever they can to capture us, and maybe even kill us." "I don't understand. Why can't we understand each other like our ancestors did? Why do they fear us? Why do they kill us for sport? Why do they not follow the two rules? Why, father? Why?" My father shook his head. "I'm sorry. I cannot answer those questions. I don't believe anyone can, my son." I dried my tears away. "But father, what really hurts me is that they call us those names. I have my own name. You have your own name, as do mother." I looked up at my father. "Why do they call any one of us they see Sasquatch?" It appears the greed of money brings out many other forms of greed. Such is the instinct of humanity to take without giving back. Thankfully, it seems, nature does have its own protectors. I would like to thank all of you for joining me tonight, and I do hope you enjoy this tale. This is farewell for now. However, remember these words, everyone. Though these might sound like mere words of fiction to you, for the ones who live within these pages, it is a reality.